back for some maths. We're still looking at shape, albeit today we're looking at angles within shape and identifying the types of angles by the size of the angle. So an angle that we should already be really familiar with is the one in the top left, and that's a right angle because we've got a really traditional way of seeing it where we have a horizontal line and a vertical line. They meet at that point there and they form a right angle which is 90 degrees. So that's really important to remember because it's going to help us identify the other angles by being able to spot that one first. So we should be really familiar with the right angle, and the way we identify it and show it within a shape is just by putting that little box in the corner, and that's where we think an angle or two lines meet at 90 degrees. Moving forward from that, we've got the angle in the centre, which is smaller than a right angle. You can see that really clearly because the right angle's next to it, but actually if I emulate the right angle with my ruler, I can see that's where the right angle should be, but actually it's much smaller. So the two lines meet at the point here and the angle goes from one line to the other. It's that opening arc. And with that angle being smaller than 90 degrees, smaller than a right angle, we're going to put an A next to it because it's an acute angle. Think of it being cute like a little baby because it's only a little angle, it's very small. And what that means is actually that angle is less than 90 degrees, so it's smaller than a right angle. In comparison to that, so the opposite would be it being bigger than 90 degrees. And here again, if I put my ruler in, there's my right angle with the ruler and that line there, and actually you can see it's got much bigger. So the point where the two lines meet is there, and our angle goes from that line all the way to the other line. I'm going to put an O next to this because it's quite a big angle, it's quite a fat angle. I wouldn't say it's obese, but it's close. It's our obtuse angle. And what that means is it's greater than 90 degrees, however it's less than 180 degrees. Now, a quarter of a turn is 90, 2/4 of a turn, or two lots of 90 is 180. And if we've got 2/4, we actually have a half turn. So 180 degrees is actually the angles on a straight line. So angles on a straight line are 180 degrees. If that was A and that was B, A plus B is 180. So it needs to be smaller than a straight line. So if my ruler was there, it needs to be smaller than that, but it needs to be bigger than a right angle, and that's our obtuse angle. And you might be thinking down here, oh, Mr. Allsop's just done another obtuse angle and just done it backwards. Well, actually, this time it would be an obtuse angle on that side. However, my angle is going to start from here, going to continue round. There's the point of 180 degrees, but actually the angle continues a bit more. And I'm going to put an R next to that, and that's called a reflex angle. And that means it's greater than 180 degrees. So we've got three types of new angle and our existing right angle, but it's all about identifying what a right angle is first and thinking, is it smaller? Is it bigger but less than a straight line, or is it much bigger? So I've got a really peculiar shape. Let's see if we can find some of those angles within the shape. And again, the first thing I'm always going to be thinking about is where's my right angles, if there's any, or are they bigger or less than 90 degrees? Because I can really easily define a right angle. And I can see one straight away in the corner, so I'm just going to put a box there, because that's how we show a right angle. I'm not going to put any letters next to it, that's it. But then I can see in the top left, if it was a right angle, that line would continue there. Well, actually, it's a bit smaller. So there I've got a little an acute angle, so I'm going to put an A next to it. I'm also as well showing where the angle is by putting that little arc in. And then over here as well, I've got another acute angle. So it might be that a strategy is you go around and think about, well, where's all the right angles, where's all the acute angles, the obtuse, and work your way through. It's up to you. But then I'm going to put a dot there and a dot there because there's 2 more angles and I don't want to forget about them. So here I can see this angle. If that line continued straight up, it would be a right angle in that corner, but it's not. It's bigger than a right angle, but it's not a straight line. Because if I was to draw that over here, that definitely doesn't look like a straight line. So therefore from there to there, I'm going to put an O because it must be obtuse. And our final angle, the tricky one that you might have missed, actually goes from here all the way round. And again, if I just put a dotted line in, you can see that's where my straight line was, but I've got another tiny little piece. So I'm going to put an R next to it to show that's a reflex angle. So I'll quickly summarise the 4 different angles again. So our right angle being 90 degrees, with being perpendicular. Acute, small and cute like a baby, it's our baby angle, it's less than 90. Our obtuse angle, our fat angle, bigger than a right angle, bigger than 90, but less than 180, so not quite a straight line. The maximum it could be is 179. That's the biggest obtuse angle you could have. Because if it's 180, well, actually we're starting to look at reflex angles. And then our reflex angle being 180 and bigger. So, bearing that in mind, I've drawn you 3 shapes. You might want to copy them out. Be as accurate and as careful as possible. But see if you can find any of those angles within them. Okay, let's go through some answers. So remember, I'm looking at those 4 types of angles. I'll start with shape A. In the corner, I can see a right angle. And then this shape is just made of 2 other acute angles. Shape B, going straight for my right angle again. And it might be actually here I'll go around, I'm going to put a point on where all the angles are. So there's 1 there, 1 there, 1 there and 1 there, and I can't miss any out that way. In the corner I've got a nice little acute angle. At the top I've got an obtuse angle. At the bottom I've got another obtuse angle, and over here another obtuse angle. So no reflex angles there because there wasn't a line that went beyond 180. And then shape C, I can already see 1, 2, 3 right angles, and again I'm going to do the same. There's an angle there, an angle there, an angle there, and I think it's a really good strategy to make sure we're not missing any out, because sometimes the angles aren't always obvious. So here I've got, that would be 90, I'm going to carry on round, that would be 180. Oh, it's much bigger, so that must be a reflex angle. Down here, small little acute angle. This one's quite tricky. It's just above, because a right angle would carry that line on there. So actually, it's obtuse, only just. I would guess that maybe that's something like 93 degrees, so only just an obtuse angle, but nevertheless, it's obtuse. Here, we've got a reflex, because if I continue that straight line, there's that tiny little piece that's extra. Here we've got an obtuse angle. Another obtuse angle, lots of obtuse angles. And then a massive angle there that goes all the way around that point. And that's a really big angle. That's a reflex angle. So, you might want to do it with traditional shapes. You might just want to draw some random ones like me. But make sure you put kind of some right angles in there to help you identify the other sizes of angles. You can see that each of mine, I made sure there was at least 1 right angle in there. And then see if you can identify those acute, obtuse and reflex angles as well.